Welcome to Game Misconduct. I'm CT here at Dory.
Hello.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. Search for Game Ms with the Z Conduct. We did not come to you last week because we tried. Believe us, we tried.
We tried.
There were a bunch of technical difficulties, and at some point, we just had to walk away because we were going to throw our computers out of the window.
I feel like from the almost 2-hour wait at Spectrum
Yeah.
to return. So I can tell them, I think a lot of people remember last week when Spectrum said, "Hey, you're getting a new modem," and then you were like, "Oh, what happened to my service?" So it was that day, and I did not know it at the time, and my internet wasn't working, and it was a nightmare. So we tried very hard.
Yes. So we
We
apologize for
tried.
ghosting you.
Yeah.
However, it's been a couple weeks since we've chatted. So let's just Lightning win the St. Louis game at home 5-2. They win the first of the back-to-back away in Buffalo 6-5 in OT. Then they go to Boston and they lose 3-1. The bigger story there was though the Jack Edwards, Pat Maroon beef. Maybe I shouldn't say beef, but the Lightning went high when they went low. They donated a whole bunch of money to a local Tampa Bay charity. Pat Maroon is amazing, as we all know, and he continues to be amazing. And we might want to dig into that a little bit more, but let's just continue with Philadelphia. They win in Philly 4-1. They win at Steven Stamkos gets his 1,000th point while in Philly. They come back home. They win 4-3 in overtime against Toronto. Steven Stamkos is celebrated for his 1,000th point, and his little boy Carter steals the show. I love that kid. Get him his own reality show. Put him all over social. He's amazing. And that was really cool to see. And I'm so glad, and he's got a bunch of, I think, milestones possibly coming up. But it's hard to believe that, we got him literally as a child, 18 years old. And now he's a man with a family and children and getting his 1,000th point and 2 Stanley Cups. Like, it's amazing. I love that guy.
And he's having a really good year.
He is.
And that's what makes, all the talk people have during the playoffs. Oh, Steven Stamkos is always injured, which isn't true, but that's fine. People really hang on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hang on to that. But for him to be, 30 years old, 30 plus years old at this point, and just have such an impactful season for the team. I feel like, he did have he has 2 children now, right? He's got a little baby,
I believe.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the star. And the kid's great. I love the commercial with Victor Hedman. I love that. It is like with the Hedman and the baby. I don't know, maybe I'm getting all the babies confused. These boys have lots of babies.
Well, and Mikhail Sergachev and his significant other just announced they're also having a child. So that's congratulations. We're gonna have a little mini Sergachev running around the arena too.
We could basically have the baby bolts with just all the players' little kids.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Call up the PR department.
Yeah, right. All right. So that was cool. And it was kind of cool that they got to celebrate his 1,000 point, with Toronto in the building. And then we're at home a lot the last couple of weeks here. Detroit, they fall to Detroit 4-2. Not so great. Yeah. Nashville comes to town. Tampa Bay beat them 5-2. They came out really strong in the first period, and then they honored Ryan McDonagh, and I think the whole bench fell apart. And so they had to figure things out a little bit in the second period, but they got it together and really kind of went nuts in the third period. Ryan McDonagh took a puck to the face, and he was not playing, so they put him in the owner's box to do the tribute, and the tribute was fantastic. But holy hell, Ryan McDonagh's face. He just looked like everything hurt. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that?
No. And we've seen it. What was the famous one years ago? Ryan Getzlaf.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
was that Ryan Getzlaff with it? And it
I
was
think
just like
so. Yeah, it was
gnarly,
lots
gnarly,
of yellows
gnarly.
and blues and yeah,
Hmm.
the whole one
But
side of his face.
it was so good to have McDonagh back in the building. He's one of my favorite players.
Yes,
Still is a favorite player, just
not for our
not on the
team
Lightning.
anymore.
But you can really get a sense when they do those, like when they did the Tyler Johnson thing when he came back, and when they do these kind of tributes to these guys, it it felt like you really got a sense of how much his teammates loved McDonagh.
Well, and John Cooper in his post-game press conference said, I don't, this is, I'm paraphrasing, but basically there wasn't a dry eye on the bench. And like you could see some guys like wiping away, because he was a big part of the glue that kept that team together.
He really, when you look back and think about it, he wasn't on the team, I think long enough,
Oh,
but
for sure.
when you think about it, before McDonagh arrived, the defense was still a huge question mark for the Lightning.
Yeah.
They had the scoring power, but he was part of that catalyst along with Hedman. But Hedman can't do everything on his own.
No, he's only one guy. Yeah.
Um, and when McDonagh came, is when the two of them kind of just together worked to change the identity of the defense,
Right.
strengthen it, solidify it, and then they were, for almost his entire, tenure here, they were really, really good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back when we started um, our podcast together. This is going in the Wayback Machine in a different building in which we were in person.
I know, right?
Which is
My, how
two
things have
offices. We just
changed.
my how things have changed. The big thing was how the defense was the weakest
Yeah.
link,
Yeah.
and when McDonagh here, it wasn't. And he I feel is a huge part of that. So it was sad he had to go, but I don't. There was clearly no hard feelings.
Oh, no. I
None
mean,
of
it's
these
just,
guys have ever had hard feelings. Blake Coleman when he left the year before,
yeah.
Goodrow, they get it. They get
Yeah.
it.
It's a
It's a
business.
business.
Yeah. And, it's not a question mark now, our defense, but he definitely helped solidify the identity and then help it grow. And where does it go? I mean, you know, things that McHale learned and Hedman
Mhm.
learned, and any of the players that have played under or while McDonagh was here, they've all learned something from him. So, very cool to see him back. So that was emotional and it was a great win. I think I've only seen them win in person like 2 times so far this season. So it was really kind of special. And then on Saturday, there was a Smash Mouth concert beforehand. It was an early game. I heard that was great and it was packed. And then the Lightning whoop up on the Florida Panthers 4-1. Yay.
Yeah,
Dory, any
yeah.
thoughts from that game?
No, but it's good anytime they beat the Panthers at this point. I think the Panthers are a very good team. We've talked about it going back a couple seasons now. They finally have that in-state rivalry that everybody was, that
Yeah.
sunshine rivalry thing going. But yeah, good game. I think I still see people with a lot of negativity about the Lightning, and I'm not really sure why. I think they're starting. We're going to start seeing now, and I think the Detroit game, that was a weird one.
Right.
But that Nashville win was a big win, and I think the Panther win was a big win, and I think we're going to start kind of seeing the mettle of these guys
So
leading
since
up to the
Thanksgiving,
holidays.
they've had 6 wins, and I'm
And
including
two
overtime
losses, right?
wins, and two
Three,
losses.
two. Yeah,
So I
Boston,
think
but
you're
should
right.
be Boston, Detroit.
Since
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, I mean, even a little bit before Thanksgiving, but I think it's going to be because they played a lot of hockey and they came back and it takes a little while. You got some new guys, you got big pieces missing for the first time.
Yeah.
Sorelli had been missing until very
Right.
recently. It was great to see him back on the ice. So now they've gelled and now they're starting to put wins together.
Yeah.
And so big week coming up. You've got Seattle on the 13th, Columbus on the 15th. Those are both at home, 7 o'clock puck drops. Then they're away for the week leading into Thanksgiving. They go to Montreal, they go to Toronto, they do Detroit and Buffalo. So that northern central Canada trip. And then they're back. On the 28th, they take on Montreal at 7 p.m. back-to-back nights in Amalie Arena, the 29th versus the New York Rangers at 7 p.m. puck drop. And then on New Year's Eve at a special 5 p.m. Eastern puck drop versus Arizona. So go to the game, have a good time, and then go out for dinner or go party for New Year's Eve, kind of ring in the new year with the Lightning. And then they're away the first week of January. So, I mean, I think Montreal is always fun because they always give us fits. Toronto, Columbus, we don't really see that often. Seattle, it'll only be the second time they're in the building.
Yep.
So, I mean, looking at this schedule, I think they can win more than they lose at this schedule. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say Pat Maroon got his first goal on December 10th, the game versus the Florida Panthers. And I'm just going to say that was my birthday. So I'm just saying, maybe there was a reason. He had all that drama the week before with the whole, comments from Jack Edwards. And then he gets his first goal of the season on my birthday. Just saying. You're welcome, Pat. But yeah, so let's take just 3 minutes to talk about the Jack Edwards thing, because I feel like every talking head in sports has laid in their 2 cents. But because we're such Pat Maroon fans here, I think we would be remiss to say anything about it, not to say anything about it. So I'm just going to say, I love how Pat handled it. It was crap what Jack Edwards did. He shouldn't have done it. And I don't, the way he tried to fix it and handle it on the back end of it, I don't think he did the right thing either. So just maybe talk about the game and leave the trash talking to the players on the ice. That's my 2 cents. Dory, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, along the same line. So I was trying to get into this when on my internet decided not to. When we tried to record, they were like, "No, we've had enough."
Yeah.
But quickly, what I really think when you replay it and you listen to it, it wasn't one comment. It was another comment, and then another comment, and another comment, and it kept going on and on and on. And my biggest takeaway is there was a time when many of the guys on air were just broadcast guys, right? And then they start bringing in former players, which is fine, which is great. Eddie Olczyk's pretty good.
Oh,
yeah. And it just, you see more and more of them, either in the studio or in the booth now. And the studio is fine. Say what you have to say. That's your job. It's commentary. But I feel like in the last couple years, the prevalence of former players in the broadcast